Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day while I'm sitting out here on my infinite balcony taking a look at the weather here in Fort Lauderdale. The sun has just come up, but I just saw a story and it seems like some of the cruise lines are starting to fight back against those taxes or port fees for good of cruising. You know the kind of fees I'm talking about, the ones that just kind of expand the coffers because they don't want to pay for something. They want the cruise lines to pay for it. So in Melbourne, Australia, they have Princess Cruise Lines is one of the cruise lines that actually homeport there and sail out of there. And they have quite a few ships that stop that in that direction. Now they're nowhere near the size of Brisbane or Sydney, but they decided that the pier there is, starting to run down. And to be fair, that pier has been in need of repairs for about 10 years now. And the city councils and the government there they just avoided doing it. Not wanting to put any money into it, but definitely wanted the money from the cruise ships for the taxes. And so they decided that on January 1st, they are raising the fees 15% next year. And they're defending this by saying that, remember, they haven't raised fees in 2.5 years. And I'm going, okay, well, so you're talking, the first year after cruise ships. And remember, Australia opened way later than anybody else did, as far as, other than maybe China area. But they had more restrictions for cruise lines. They have a lot of different things that were there, a lot harder than most of the rest of the world. So they're saying, yeah, they didn't raise any fees. Of course, they didn't raise any fees when there was nobody sailing at any of these ports. But they're saying it's to repair the docks and things like that. However, they didn't create a fund, right? They didn't create a fund that this money is going directly into the infrastructure for the cruise port or anything like that. They just said it's going into the coffers and we'll get around to fixing it. And you know how government are when they say things are going into the coffers and all that money will go for it won't. It'll go to whatever they decide they need it. And judging by the history there of 10 years of disrepair, how much do you think this tax raise money fees will actually go to the cruise ports? So Carnival, who owns Cunard and Princess, has decided, well, you for one thing, you never gave us any notice that these fees, you just said next month basically they're going up. And so we don't have, cruise lines have to book their ports and home ports and everything like years in advance, at minimum 18 to 19 months in advance to do their schedules, right? So they said, okay, starting in 2025, Cunard said, we're not even going to go to Melbourne anymore. We will bypass that district and city altogether. We can always go to Sydney. We can always go to Brisbane, which are bigger draws anyway. Also, Princess Cruise Line has decided, starting in 2025, they will no longer homeport in Melbourne as well, as a protest against not only the fees themselves going up 15% at one time, but also the fact that they were given no notice that this was going to happen. They just said, hey, it's going to happen, deal with it. And so they're deal with it. They're just not going to go there anymore. And they're not going to homeport there, which is a huge hit to the city as far as hotels and restaurants and the tourism industry in that area, because, no one's going to be coming in, 65,000 to 100,000 people in a year would be in Melbourne from those two cruise lines. And most of them would be leaving and homeporting at those ships, which means they need hotels, they need taxis, they need restaurants, and they need shops. And a lot of those places will no longer get that business, and they are not happy right now with the decision, especially angry at the government. Even the cruise port tourism industry in that area says, you know, we're never going to become Sydney. We're never going to be that big. But we could definitely increase our portion of the cruise. Unfortunately, the government in that area has decided they'd rather increase the tax from the cruise instead of increasing the cruise industry itself, which means, you know, if they would expand their dock to allow larger ships to be able to go there, that would increase substantially the amount of income brought in from the already port fees that are there, let alone, you know, anything else, which would more than cover any of the money they need for the expansion and more than cover the need to repair the docks and the pier. But I guess when you leave something in such disrepair for long enough, you need money quickly, and if you haven't planned for it, you think, well, cruise lines are just going to take it. Well, maybe those cruise lines are starting to say, hey, you know what? Enough is enough. 15% in 1 year is a little high, and no notice, no warning, no nothing. Maybe we're just not going to go there anymore, and let's see how you like having none of the income from the cruises going forward. There is such a thing as taxing your way into bankruptcy. Well, I hope you appreciate this little update. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.